Hey, what's up, YouTube? It's WK Dad. We're going to begin our side decking discussion. This is just going to be an introduction to side decking, my initial thoughts going into this discussion and moving forward, and just letting you guys know what you think at the conclusion of this video and the following videos. And we'll see how long we can keep this discussion going. And hopefully, it can help some people in their side decking choices. Hopefully, the feedback you guys give me will help me with my side decking choices, and we can all become better players as this progresses. To begin, I think that there's 4 tiers of side decking. In my opinion, at the bottom, you have people who side deck into a whole other different deck. I remember there was a regional I went to, the guy topped running Chain Burn, but then his deck side decked into Inzectors. So main deck Chain Burn game 1, burn his opponent. Game 2, they're siding in all their anti-burn stuff, and then he sides in his 9 Inzector engine. And that was, of course, when Hornet and Ladybug were at 3. Next, you have side decking hate. And what I mean by that is, if you're running a deck that has, usually you're running a lower tier deck, and basically your majority of your deck, or majority of your sideboard cards are just cards that hate on everything. And, you know, at that point, you're like, well, if I'm siding these same 15 cards every match, maybe I should reevaluate my deck. The next tier, number 2, would be anti-hate. So, like if you're running a Dark World deck, you know the Macrocosmos and the Soul Drains and Dimensional Fissures and the Shadow Prison Mirrors are in. So, a good portion of your side deck is back row removal and that kind of thing. And then finally, I believe the top tier of side decking would be a good mix of tier 1 or tier 2 and 3. Okay, so now that we have that out the way, I kind of place myself in the 3rd tier because I generally don't run meta decks. A lot of times I'll run a deck and then lo and behold it becomes meta. I mean, that happened to me with plants. That happened to me back when Chaos Return started, because I've told the story many times. I didn't want to fork out the $70 for Blackluster Soldier, so my son and I, we just ran triple Chaos Sorcerer. And when Return from Different Dimension came out, like, oh shit, we're gonna run that too. It's busted, it's sacky, and we were topping regionals and everything, you know, back in 04, 05, and everybody's running their cookie cutter BLS decks. We were running triple Sorcerer because we didn't want to spend money for a BLS. Chaos Sorcerer was a $1 common. I mean, get the fuck out of here. But yeah, so a lot of times my sideboard is just based on control. Game 2 and 3, I'm like, well, I have a shitty matchup versus everything, so, you know, I have to side these cards to prevent myself from getting stomped game 2 and 3. Hopefully game 1 I catch my opponent off guard by the weird shit I'm running, and game 2 and 3 I can, you know, just basically side into anti-meta. That's where I am personally. I'd like to be able to move up to tier 1. I believe everybody should be able to construct their side decks so that it contains a good mix of hate and a good mix of anti-hate. A lot of times, I mean, like wind-ups, the only real anti-hate cards they side are like Soul Takers and maybe extra Dust Tornadoes, or if they don't main 3 MSTs, the extra MST, because the only card that hates on that deck, in all seriousness, is Gozen Match. I mean, you could say Needle Sealing, but I mean, a lot of them run Starlight Road. You have Solemn Judgment, and then a lot of times they can do their combos without ever getting 4 monsters on the board. They'll try to stay under the 4 monster count for the activation of Needle Sealing. So that's what you have there. Another thing I like to point out is when you're side decking, your side deck should always complement your extra deck or your main deck. And what I mean by that is, when you go to side decking, it should, the cards you bring in from your sideboard, they have to flow evenly with your main board, because it doesn't make sense to side in all these cards and it just totally disrupts your main deck. I've seen people who side deck Solemn Warning and they run like frogs and stuff like that, and like, well, why would you side deck cards that need to stay on the board if it conflicts with your Treeborn Frog? You know what I mean? Or I see people, I'm not going to go there because, like always, when I bring up something, somebody's going to know what the hell I'm talking about, and I have to watch myself when I'm doing these damn videos. I know too many fucking people. So yeah. So, you know, that was just a brief introduction. Down below, I'd like for you to comment about where we should start with this. Where should we go next? I have a lot of ideas about things we need to discuss, and a lot of things I'd like to get you guys' feedback on. I know one of people's biggest things are, you know, either staying ahead of side decking trends. Some people want to just develop side decking trends. I mean, you guys remember when Leech in the Light was like the shit? You know, in terms of cards that are like blowouts. I believe Fraser Smith brought that up in terms of side decking cards that are complete blowouts to certain matchup. Macrocosmos is a blowout to Dark Worlds. Leech in the Light is a blowout to Agents. You know, those kind of cards, you know, we can discuss, and how to know when you need to side those, if they're good for a certain meta. Other things I want us to be able to discuss are what cards come in and what card goes out, you know. So like when you go into your side game 2, you go into your side deck and you look at all these cards, you're like, okay, I need this extra spell and trap removal, but what should I take out for it? I know that's a lot of people's problems. They don't know what to take out, and they bring in all this stuff and they're like, shit, I need these cards in these situations, but I sided them out and blah 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 blah. So, you know, that's where we can go. So again, comment down below about where we should go next, the next topic, and we'll get into it. It's Dub K Dad, and I'm out.